the invisible casino, building trust, profit, and player joy in a cloud-first era.
Good afternoon. All right, so let's get to know you a little bit. So how many of you know what cloud is? Not those clouds that you see in the sky, right? I'm talking IT cloud. How many? Come on, hands up. Who knows what AWS is, what Azure is? All right, about half of you. So I'm here to explain and give you more details of how you can scale better, how you can be more secure, and how to give joy to your customers, to your players, by using the cloud. And hopefully do this without too much costs, right? So today, players have expectations. They have expectations in terms of features, in terms of personalization, in terms of what ultimately they want to win, what they want to experience when they go on your websites or in your systems. Whether you are B2C or B2B, this is true, right? Whether it's directly with you or with your customers. But there are also those unseen expectations, those expectations which you don't actually, they take it for granted, right? Things like they want to go on your website and they don't want to wait 10 seconds for a page to load. It's basic, but it is extremely important. They want a seamless, secure transaction. And this type of expectation, I would say, is so important that without it, as soon as you remove it, everything falls apart, right? So I'm calling it the invisible casino, the invisible part, the backend, which requires you to do what the basics very, very right. Thankfully, today there is a lot of help. There are lots of tools like the cloud, which allow you to do this without too much effort, but ultimately you need to know what the options are and you need to get the appropriate help. So there is a bit of a, not dilemma, but trilemma, right? So you have skyrocketing player expectations. Players expect more and more, faster speeds, more security. At the same time, you have escalating complexity. The cloud landscape, the IT landscape, the tech landscape in general, there's a tech-first industry, the complexity is always increasing. There's no doubt about this. And it's increasing for a good reason, because the threats and the regulations are also increasing. More regulation, more different types of threats. Now, all this makes everything a little bit more challenging. So how can you keep those unseen expectations? How can you keep those things true whilst having higher and higher complexity and also reducing costs? So to build an invisible casino, and whether it's a sports book or a casino or anything related to iGaming, right? This is true. There are two main pillars. You have scalability and costs. We can control scalability's costs through FinOps. And then there is also security and resilience. Now, to do this, in the cloud, what we do is we scale, but we don't scale vertically, meaning we don't grab our servers and increase their memory and increase their CPU, right? That is one option, but what you should do is increase horizontally, meaning increase the number of servers. What that gives you is more power to scale out when you have a lot of demand, but then that allows you to scale back in when that demand decreases. Now, when it comes to costs in the cloud, it's not about costs in reality. So cloud costs are ultimately the cost of doing business. So in a business, you don't just think of the cost, you also think of the revenue. Same thing with cloud. You should always see your cloud costs in relation to the revenue. So if you have $10 revenue and you have $1 of cloud cost, then you have a 10:1 comparison, right? So that 10:1 is your efficiency rating. And that's what you should focus on. You should not focus on that $1 cost, but rather on your efficiency rating, so that you put context to those costs, that cost of doing business. If you manage to get it 0.5 is to 10, meaning 0.5 spend versus 10 revenue, now all of a sudden you have better efficiency, less waste. Now we're talking. And of course, security. We're going to talk more about that. So dynamic scaling means increasing the number of servers out. So today you have 10 servers. Tomorrow you might have 11 because it scales. But it's not just that. It's also during the day. In the morning you might have 10 servers. In the evening you might have 20 servers, depending on demand. So you track how much demand is coming in, you add the number of servers, and you reduce them accordingly. So to reduce waste. In the cloud, this allows you to do it very quickly, programmatically, but it also allows you to pay for what you have. So in the morning, you pay for 10 servers. In the afternoon, or whatever, you have 20 and you pay for 20. And then you go back down to 10. That scaling out and in is what allows you to have scale, but also reduce costs. Now, costs and security, which we'll see later, is all about transparency. Is all about the ability to see that spend in relation to that revenue. So that 1:10 ratio, for example, right? So that transparency is not easy. The cloud is a complex beast. There are tools out there which allow you to know exactly how much you're spending in relation to your revenue. And it's essential that you get there to be able to understand whether you're spending intelligently or whether you're just wasting money. When it comes to the invisible casino, the backend, it's not important that you have a Ferrari. It's not, right? So if I have 100 people, I can order 50 Ferraris and take them to the destination. And I can order 50 Fiats and take them to the same destination, right? I can order a bus and take them to the same destination. I am doing the same thing with less costs. And that's exactly what I'm saying here. Don't waste money, but also scaling and security are top priority. You still get to that destination, all right? Now, what this allows you to do when you have confidence in your ability to scale, without wasting, is it removes, when you automate all this, it removes from your mind this backend stuff, this, let's call it non-visible but very important stuff, right? Once you remove that from your mind, you can focus on what's important, on what's visible, which is the features, the offering. This is how you give value to your customers, whether they're B2B or B2C, through more features or through more features or improved features, right? So focus on that. It's where your intellectual property lies, whilst letting the automated backend, if it's done well, let it scale in a cost-efficient manner. The second pillar, apart from scalability in a cost-efficient manner, would be security. Security is on its own. Security is number one. You don't, if you have an option, less security, less costs, always go with, or more costs, apologies, always go with the more cost part, right? Security is absolutely not negotiable. Now, with that in mind, what is secure today is not the same as what will be secure in a year's time. It's not the same as it was a year ago. A year ago, the type of security we needed was different from what we have today. For example, how many of you know what a DDoS attack is, a denial of service attack is? 1 person, 2 person, 3 people? Okay, we have a 3:100 ratio here. So let me tell you what a DDoS is. A DDoS is basically when you have a bunch of idiots, I call them, right? They're actually people who want to make money, who go out and try to bring your site down. And you can buy this service on the black market today, literally. You can buy a service which you have hundreds of thousands and millions of requests going on your website to bring it down. There is a monetary incentive to this, and it's a very common attack that you see in today's world in general, including iGaming. We as 56-bit, we work a lot in iGaming, and we have DDoS attacks. This is not something you can control. We have DDoS attacks on a monthly basis on our customers. Each one, because you automate that defense, you can stop worrying about it. Literally, you can have a system which doesn't break the bank and yet repels most of those attacks, only letting the actual good traffic, not the fake traffic, to come through. So all this is not new. What is new is the type of attacks that are coming through. They're always evolving, and we need to evolve with them. Now, I'm not telling you guys, if you're not technical, to be the ones who does that, right? Who do that. But there is help out there through service providers, through cloud systems. For example, proactive threat detection. On AWS is what my expertise is in. Amazon Web Services, one of the cloud providers. They provide you with a single click, one click, and you have an AI threat detection system. Literally, one click. They don't let you change anything. You just press a button and enable it, full stop. It's called Guard Duty. It's one of their 200 services. So the options are out there. You just need to know about them. You need to get expert help to help you with this getting much, much more complex approach. Fraud prevention. This is not something that the cloud providers will give you out of the box, right? They are more generic than that. They're not industry specific, but there are lots of partners that you can integrate with to help you with fraud prevention. And these are AI driven. AI here, we're talking pattern recognition. They recognize patterns and they give you those insights that you ultimately can act on. Predictive maintenance. These are things which can help you reduce downtime. So I come from Malta, right? Mediterranean, and we had a supplier, a B2B supplier in Malta a few weeks ago that had some very basic things which were in there from a security perspective, and their customer, which is a large German operator, ended up losing a ton of data. Their customers' data. This is nothing to do with AI. The security that was involved here was extremely basic, yet it was missing. So sometimes we look a lot forward with AI and quantum and crypto and this and that and forget the bare minimum, the basics. Don't. Yes, it's important to evolve, but don't forget the basics. Now, this operator suffered huge losses. Monetary losses, regulatory losses, reputational losses. And not even their fault, it was a third-party supplier. So the iGaming industry, as you know, has a huge supply chain, right? Lots of people, lots of companies involved in the same ecosystem to deliver a service. Now, all these things are there, ready to help you. You just obviously need to take advantage of them. So, just to close off, my vision for this industry would be to have an invisible backend. And with that I mean, you go on a service on a website, and the basics are done. And there is effortless scalability. If you have a million users, it's the same as having 10 users, right? In terms of speed, in terms of scalability, with hyper-personalized features that you guys can build into your systems. Proactive compliance that doesn't affect the end user. Now, innovation is key to this industry. It's what has been at the forefront from the very beginning, right? We see things like crypto. We see things like personalization with AI. We see things like VR. These are all amazing stuff. Not every industry is this advanced, guys, all right? I've worked in the finance industry. I've worked in the retail industry. Believe me when I tell you that they are way behind the iGaming industry. So innovation is key, and it's what will keep driving growth. But don't forget the basics at the back. So, if you manage to bring all these together, cost optimization, we call it FinOps in IT, all right? That's financial operations, having visibility in your finances. With AI architecture, hopefully that gives you player joy, more innovation, more profits. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to be at the back if you need to talk.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you. A fellow Maltese, as it happens.